And now the hot seat. And here's your host, Melva Williams.
Welcome to the hot seat with me, Melva Williams. Today we have a great guest, Mr. Rod Demery, formerly of the Shreveport Police Department.
Yes.
Yes,
I
and
worked for
now
SPD
of the
for 17 years.
and now of the hit show Murder Chose Me. Yeah. So you were telling me, how many years were you with SPD?
I was with SPD for 17 years.
17
Yeah,
years.
and of those 17 years, I worked 16 homicide.
16.
There was a time when I went to robbery and I worked sex crimes for a while, but it was pretty much homicide.
So let's start from the beginning. How did you get involved in law enforcement? I mean, what was that? Was that something as a kid? You were always wearing the police hat and all of that,
Yeah,
and arresting people
yeah,
around the
yeah.
house. I mean, how did you start? You know, what was that burning passion? Because I could tell you have a passion for it.
Yeah,
So
I started, when I was a kid, there were two things I used to play, preacher and police officer.
Oh,
So I don't know where it
really?
came from.
So
I'm
preacher,
definitely not
preaching
a
might be
preacher.
next. You never know. Never say no.
But,
I'll be coming to your first service.
I think my passion for police work. When I was a kid, my mother was killed. I was 3 years old, and I didn't know anything about it. I had no answers, no, explanation.
And being so young. Yeah.
Right, and I had no memory of her. So I don't know. Maybe it was just something that was kind of innate in me to be a police officer. But I think one of the last photos I had with my mom, I'm standing next to her, and I got on a little badge and I got a gun. And
Wow.
Yeah, and growing up, like
Wow.
cops and robbers, I was always a cop. So I don't know. It's just something that I knew I was going to do.
Yeah. So
I don't think there was a point in my life I didn't think I was going to be a police officer.
Really? So after high school, what was your trajectory? I mean, what did you, how did you transition?
Well, where I live, I grew up in New Mexico, and in our neighborhood, we lived in a cul-de-sac, and 3 of the people in that cul-de-sac were police officers. And the police chief actually lived across the street from me. So when I was a little kid, I used to cut his grass. I graduated from high school, and I went to college for the first year, and the police department was hiring me. I went to the police department, and that was it. I was hooked.
You were hooked.
Yeah, I worked narcotics, and that was in the heyday, when the war on drugs,
Yeah.
ramped up.
Yes.
But and I lived on the New Mexico, El Paso, Juarez border.
Oh,
so
wow. What?
It was exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, what a lot of energy, to say the least,
Yeah.
in that area.
The drugs were really big, heroin and marijuana, and that war on drugs had just started, so that was all the glamour. Everybody wanted to be a narcotics officer. So I worked narcotics for a while.
So you started off in narcotics?
In narcotics.
Wow, because everybody thinks, you're going to be a police officer.
Well, I was a patrol officer for just a minute.
Yeah, but but everybody thinks
Yeah.
you're going to start off and you're going to go straight to investigating and looking under rocks for blood specks.
Doesn't happen that way.
Yes, that's how it happens on TV, right?
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Okay, so no, that's not.
No, you start off, you're a beat officer, you're answering calls and doing all the police stuff.
Yeah.
And, you get selected or you apply for whatever other position you want.
So there's another application process to
Right.
become.
Yeah, there's
in
a
different
testing and a
segments.
selection process.
Wow,
So,
wow. Because I don't think people just think, you're patrolling, you're doing your thing, but there are also different branches within the police departments.
Right.
And how does that function?
Well, typically, the way it's supposed to work is, you test for it, you interview, but, there's a lot of politics and other things involved. I think for narcotics, I was pretty young and naive, so I really didn't understand the concept, but, they want people that can blend, because a lot of the work was undercover work, so you have to be able to go in and be convincing and what have you. But it was an experience. I think after I worked there for a while, I had a guy that I worked with, and he ended up committing suicide. And I was done with police work. I said I was never going to do it again.
And he was an officer.
He was an officer, and we were really good friends. But after that, that was it. I said I'm not going to do this anymore. So I ended up moving to Los Angeles, where my family was, and I said I'm not going to do police work, but I got to stay in some kind of law enforcement. So I
Right.
got this great job in Beverly Hills. So I worked at Chanel and Gucci and all those stores.
Awesome.
And, I was
My
sprung.
dream, yeah.
So I started doing that for a while, but that wasn't it.
So you're working, was that retail?
No, security.
Security, okay, because I
Right,
can see
right.
you selling a Gucci
Right.
purse
Yeah,
or
yeah, no.
selling a
No, I just make
Chanel
sure nobody knocked
bag.
them in the head after they bought it.
Okay, gotcha.
So I got to meet all those,
High-end
yeah.
shoppers and celebrities.
Oh man, like Oprah and
Oh my gosh,
Anita
my
Baker.
dream.
I think I fell in love.
She is incredible.
Yeah, that was fun, and I did that for a couple of years, and I ended up joining the military, and I joined the Navy, and wanted to finish my degree, and the military paid for it.
Wow.
But my luck, I joined the military, and I go straight to Desert Storm. So,
Desert Storm.
so I was,
Wow.
So I was out at sea for the first 7.5, 8 months.
Oh
And,
my gosh.
I came back to Virginia and fell in love. I say that funny, but I got married, like most sailors.
Mm-hmm.
And my ex-wife was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got out of the military, I went back to Pittsburgh.
Back to
and
Pittsburgh.
Right back into police work.
Really? So what reignited that flame? Because you got this picture of you as a kid with your little badge on and your little gun with your mom, and then you give it all up.
Well,
and
and I don't think I did, because in the military I was a military policeman. So I guess it was still.
Just still there
Yeah.
in the background, always in the background.
Yeah, I was. That was that critical point. In my early 20s, I was trying to understand life, and understand society and the country. And, I was really conflicted about narcotics work, and I was conflicted about police work, because police work is traditionally not for young minority men. It just wasn't.
Right.
It was a white-dominated profession. And some of the things that we were doing I didn't agree with. And, so I had to kind of feel my way through that and figure out where I was on my moral compass. And by that time, I'd had narcotics experience, military experience, so I
Right.
could pretty much do what I wanted. And when I went to Pittsburgh, I went back into narcotics, which was easy for me because I was in El Paso, so.
Yeah. In one of the toughest areas. Yeah.
Right, and I became this person that was always this agitator, because I was never the fraternal police kind of guy.
Yeah.
I was always off on my own.
Yeah.
And it worked, because when I was in Pennsylvania, we had some issues there with some of the police officers in the community. Well, I always had the community support, but some of the police officers I didn't click. Turns out I finally climbed the ladder and I become a police chief, and that was pretty unheard
Really?
of, because we had a new mayor that
And
came
then so
in.
young.
Yeah, I was barely 30. And,
Wow.
of course, me and the love of my life divorced, and I was going back to New Mexico or LA because I didn't like Pennsylvania. And my biological dad is in Shreveport, so I stopped in and saw him.
On a visit.
Yeah.
Just visiting. Be here a few minutes.
Right. And he said, "Well, boy, police department here is hiring." And yeah, I applied for SPD, and 3 months later, you go through all these backgrounds, and I worked out at the prison at Wade until they finished it. And,
You worked at Wade Correctional Facility.
Right,
Oh,
right.
wow.
And it's funny because all these little things that happen along the way, God prepares you for what you're going to do. So I
Sure.
got to see that side of it. These guys that were in prison, some of them should have been there, and some of them
Shouldn't have.
So you get a different sense of whatever. And my brother, I have an older brother. My brother murdered somebody right when I got out of the military. So there's a lot going on there, mentally with
Just
me.
some
Right.
conflicts there.
Right. So, I have a mother who was murdered, my brother who committed a murder, and then I'm doing police work, and then, I'm doing corrections work. So all that stuff was for a reason, and I was probably 40 before I understood, what it was about.
All of the dynamics.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I came to Shreveport, I started patrol, and New Mexico and Shreveport, totally different.
Kind of
culture.
different, right?
Right.
Kind of
So-
different.
So I didn't understand a lot of the urban inner city policing concepts and why they were the way they were, but I understood the people, because my people,
Yeah.
and it just worked, and I just, SPD, I think I was on patrol for 9 months, and I went to burglary and then homicide, and it worked out well.
Well, I think one thing too, with your background, being a community member, you are a part of the community, and that is something that people have respected about you. I hated to see you retire. I mean, it was a sad day in the city. But listen, we're going to talk more about some exciting things that you have going on. So you stay in the hot seat, and you come right back. We're going to be right here in the hot seat with me, Melva Williams.
We'll be right back with more Hot Seat with Melva Williams.
You don't want to miss us on iKoala Radio. It's the Hot Seat with me, Melva Williams, 5 days a week, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on iKoala Radio. It's just music, baby.
Since 1985, J&S Electronics has served the architects with superior electronics from transistors, resistors, and fuses. We carry HDMI cables and a wide selection of AV cables and connectors. We also have a large supply of batteries and tools to handle your projects. Need Cat 6 or CCTV systems? Call us at 318-631-8675 or come see us today at 6437 Greenwood Road.
The difference between significance and insignificance is choice, and sometimes making those choices are tough. But isn't it amazing that our past has no place in determining our future, and that where we are now doesn't have to be where we'll be forever? So I'm not focusing on where I have been. Instead, I look to where I am heading, and I'm going somewhere great, because I am Southern.
Welcome back to the Hot Seat with me, Melva Williams. Our special guest today is Rod Demery, a retired police officer from the Shreveport Police Department and now TV star, gone from the tough and rumble SPD work to being a television celebrity star. So tell us a little bit about your hit show, Murder Chose Me, because I have been truly fascinated by this show.
Well,
It's one of the best crime shows. I mean, I'm sitting there with my popcorn like Olivia
Thank
Pope, my red wine. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't know exactly how that came about. There was a murder here in Shreveport that I worked, where a young girl was killed, actually up here in the MLK area. And there's a show that was out called Fatal Attraction.
Yes.
And the producers called and asked me did I work that case, and they interviewed me on it, and I said yeah, and I came down, flew somebody in from New York, and they filmed it, and it went well. Then there was another show from the same production company, and they wanted to interview me on a separate murder, and that was for another show, Judge Faith. She's a Shreveport
Yes.
local, Justice by Any Means, so I did that show. Well, the producer calls me back and he said, hey, my boss is trying to create a new show. Would you be interested? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Well, kind of, okay,
So,
but whatever.
Yeah, and well, they flew a team down and they started, they did what's called a sizzle reel, where they talked to me about my cases and what have you. And it went to a few different networks, and I think there were several different networks, but it landed at Discovery ID, or Investigation Discovery. And I was pretty excited about it, but it's pretty surreal. I really didn't believe it was happening.
Yeah.
And in fact, right now, I don't believe it's happening.
It's happening.
But
I'm telling you, it is happening. Yes, it is happening.
It was, I mean, it was good. They reviewed a bunch of my cases, and we just started shooting different.
So these shows come from your cases that you've worked, and I mean, I have seen some, and I'm like, whoa, I mean, complicated, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how those cases, I mean, how they weave stories into these cases is just, it amazes me.
Well, I think the show creators, I mean, they're amazing. I don't know how they do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, they can read a report and they can interview me, and before it's over with, they've gotten all these different twists and turns woven in there that, I really kind of didn't understand. I think my work is, as a homicide detective, it's non-traditional. When you look at shows like CSI, they talk about all the scientific evidence and all that other stuff. And my approach was never that. I thought it was always a personal connection.
About the people, yeah.
And because, if you look at OJ's case, you have all this physical evidence against him, but what really happened You know?
Absolutely,
And
yeah. And why? And then you
Exactly.
have to know the why. Why would he or she do this particular thing? What is the motivation?
Exactly. And then you hear these things, well, this person says they didn't do it. And then there's this question of, how many people were. So I always wanted to get the confession. And not only the confession, I wanted the person who told me they killed somebody to prove it to me.
Yeah, prove it and tell
Yeah,
me why
exactly.
and all of that.
So if they shot somebody, I said, well, how many times and where? Where's the gun?
Because you start acting like you don't believe them. You're
Right.
like, yeah, right, sure you
Yeah.
did.
And if they tell you, well, I shot him twice in the chest and I threw the gun in a drainage ditch on 79th Street, then they pretty much did it,
Yeah,
So,
it's like, well, that's where everything-
you don't have those issues where you have to reconcile in your mind, do I got the right person or this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
The other thing is Shreveport is a very close community. And I think and I always say it's the biggest small city I've ever seen in my life.
It is, yeah.
And a lot of that in policing is misunderstood, because you hear, and not just Shreveport, but everywhere you hear about people saying, well, people don't snitch or there's just no snitching. It's just not true. There's nobody that lives in any neighborhood that wants to see anybody get shot.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. I had an old lieutenant here in Shreveport, actually. He told me, he said, when your community fears criminals more than they respect and trust you, you've lost. So I think the whole snitching campaign, when you hear all the rappers talking about it, it's
No,
just
snitching,
that
yeah.
people fear what's going to happen because they've lost faith in that community. And so I kind of tapped into that, and people began to trust me. And there wasn't a lot that happened that, it's like, this is what happened. I mean, from gangsters on the street to old ladies, it's like,
Saying,
hey,
baby,
yeah, baby,
I
this is
saw
what
it.
happened.
No,
Right,
this is what
right.
happened.
And some of the guys, that just ain't right, man.
Yeah,
so it's
because there's even
everybody-
codes to the
right,
street,
right,
yeah.
Right. Everybody loves their family, they love their community, and when they're left to try to
Wow.
piece it together themselves, they're basically looking for something they can, hang their hat on.
So that's such an interesting concept that you brought up about everybody loves their community. And it's very interesting. So as an officer and as an investigator, how do you see that emerge, as you're talking to people? How did you come to that thesis or conclusion? Because I
talking to
believe,
people.
I believe it's true, but you think, okay, if you love your community so much and, so many people out there, why don't you do this and why aren't you doing that and why aren't you taking care? I mean, where does that assessment?
When you actually talk and connect with people, you can see it. I mean, they'll tell you, it's ridiculous, or I'm tired of this, or or you go to a shoot and you ask somebody, did you hear some gunshots last night? And they're like, yeah, all the time, and you can see how they're just tired,
Frustration.
and frustrated. And after you gain the respect and the trust of your community, they're going to tell you everything. I mean, it's because that's actually the way it's set up. The system's set up so that the police work for the community, and the community tells you what they want and what they don't want. And if that
Wow.
falls apart, that relationship or that trust, especially that trust falls apart, then just like the lieutenant said, you've lost it.
You've
And,
lost it.
Thankfully, people trusted and believed in me, and that in turn made me want to do it for them. And it's a pretty good feeling. Police departments and military, they give you awards and they give you these.
You get
accolades.
medals
It means
and-
absolutely nothing. But when you go into Super One and some old lady tells you, "Baby, I am so glad you're here," I mean, it just makes it worth it.
Yeah.
And it kind of turns you against the establishment, and you focus more on the people.
Yeah.
Kind of discover your purpose a little bit.
Yeah. So with the new show, I mean, so right now, are you on for so many seasons? I mean, what can we expect? We are, we just love it. Everybody loves it.
Well, thank you, thank you. It started, I was supposed to do a pilot and just kind of see how it went. Well, they did a pilot, and I guess the network liked it.
Did pretty
so
good.
They ordered 6 episodes for the first season. After that, they did a focus group, and then, where they sent it around the country and actually around the world, and they got pretty good ratings on it, so they added another 4 episodes. So the first season was 10 episodes. The second season, that depends on whether or not the Discovery Network wants to re-up it.
Continue,
And,
yeah.
that's usually after the first run and see what the numbers and the ratings are. But they've been pretty good.
Well, good. I'm excited about it. So, with your cases, I mean, so you got clearance, I mean, to give these stories, I mean, to share the
Yeah.
cases?
Well, actually,
and-
they get it. You know, it's public
Wow.
record.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
so they basically call me in after they've gotten it and say, well, we want to
Tell
do
me
this
about this.
case.
Yeah.
What'd you do on this one? So it works out real well.
Really?
That's that's the other incredible thing. You know, our government or our police, they can't hide anything from the public. You know, it's open records. You know, if they ask for it, they get it. The media
Say it
the
is what
biggest
it
thing.
is.
Yeah. So when they get it, you get to explain it. You know,
Yeah.
and hopefully you've done what you're supposed to do and you can explain it.
Yeah.
So it works out real well.
So the show is on Discovery
Investigation Discovery.
ID. That's right.
ID.
Investigation Discovery. And what's really cool, I was getting my tires changed, and I got to watch an episode during the time. So it
Oh, wow.
was
Good,
it was
good.
really great. Yeah, I was at my favorite tire place on Grimmett Drive, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh, Rod Demery's on, and I mean, they were like, your car is ready, and I'm like, well, I got to watch the end. I got to see what happens.
Yeah.
So this is awesome.
Yeah, it is. I think, you know, Shreveport, I mean, I never knew how many people were so supportive. And I think that was probably the best feeling, you know, because, you know, being here, I've been working here, and
Yeah, you're
but I
doing the
never
work.
knew
You're
how
doing
many
the
people
work. Yeah.
actually respected the work. And for me, you know, I guess there's the TV aspect of it, but clearly that's not my priority. I mean, I still work for the DA, so,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's cool, but
Yeah, but still, it's a lot more work to do.
yeah,
So
there's
listen,
work.
you stay in the hot seat, and you guys come right back. We're going to be in the hot seat with me, Melva Williams. We'll see you in a second.
We'll be right back with more Hot Seat with Melva Williams.
You don't want to miss us on iKoala Radio. It's the hot seat with me, Melva Williams, 5 days a week, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on iKoala Radio. It's just music, baby.
Since 1985, J&S Electronics has served the architects with superior electronics from transistors, resistors, and fuses. We carry HDMI cables and a wide selection of AV cables and connectors. We also have a large supply of batteries and tools to handle your projects. Need Cat 6 or CCTV systems? Call us at 318-631-8675 or come see us today at 6437 Greenwood Road.
When I'm in town, I listen to iKoala Radio.
Welcome back to the hot seat with me, Melva Williams. Our special guest today is Rod Demery, formerly of the Shreveport Police Department, but now the star of the hit show, Murder Chose Me. So the show, I mean, you know, it is a hit here in Shreveport. I mean, everybody knows you, so everybody's like, have you seen Rod Demery's new show? It's awesome. But not only Shreveport loves you, but it has taken off, I
Yeah,
mean, worldwide,
yeah.
because it's not just showing in Shreveport. I mean, it is really expanded. So
It's, I think there are 85 million subscribers to that network, and they're in 200 countries and territories.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was pretty overwhelming, because I kind of didn't know that.
yeah, it's like, didn't know that part. Probably shouldn't have known. It's like, don't even tell
from
me.
somebody in Uganda. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was different. Yeah, I don't know. I think you know, going back to, you know, growing up, I think a lot of people look at it as a TV show, but I think that whole thing, me playing a preacher, that may be something to it. I think that it's a ministry. My reason for doing what I do has absolutely nothing to do with anything other than people humanizing murder and the pain of other people. That's
Wow.
just what it is. I mean, you know, I got a daughter that's a you know, freshman in college.
Oh.
So it's great for her.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Yeah.
But you know, I'm 51 years old. You know, so there's really not a whole lot that really excites me like
Yeah.
that. You know, so,
Yeah.
but I think the fact that people can actually see people they know,
Yeah.
and how they feel after this woman's talking about her child, or you know, it touches them.
Yeah.
And my hope, or my prayers, is that people will see that and say, well, this just happened the other night. Maybe we should go check on this lady or this person, and that's the aim of it.
But the feeling of community, and I think too, you know, like I said, it's not just a Shreveport show. I mean, it's being broadcast to millions. But you know, when people watch these shows, I mean, they can relate, and I think that's the thing that makes the show just, you know, so interesting, is that it is relatable, because there's so many towns and cities where things are going on, and you get to see these stories. sort of evolve, and you know, it's really neat to watch how they put everything together.
Yeah, and if you look at it, you know, there are a few common threads, you know, from a sociological
Yes.
standpoint. You know, everybody understands pain, it's universal, everyone understands fear in their community. And if you really watch, you'll see where people, they connect on that level. And I think the fact that they tell so much of my story of, you know, my mother's murder and my brother's prison stint,
Right.
you know, it kind of brings it all to a personal level. And you know, people say these are real people and these are real things.
Right.
In Shreveport, they're your neighbors, your friends, your cousins. So it kind of connects everybody, and that's probably the magic in it all.
And I think, you know, when you're watching the movies and, you know, you have the investigator and he's hunting down the person and the bad guy, sometimes you don't see the real story behind the investigator.
Right.
And that they are people too. So I think to see that part in the show is interesting, because it's like, you know, you see an officer, you see an investigator, and you see this person and it's like, oh, they're just the police. They don't have any concern.
Right.
But to see that, you know, you do have a sense of compassion. You've been on both sides
Exactly.
of the law. You know, you've been the person, you know, with a family member, a brother. You know, how do you think people should see officers?
And,
You know,
and I think that's it. I mean, the fact that if I got called to a homicide and I'm watching this lady, you know, I'm seeing her pain, you know, her daughter's, you know, and I know what's going to happen, you know, because I've experienced it. The same way when I bring someone in that did it, you know, it's like I don't see this monster. You know, because you know, my brother and me we were babies, you know, we grew up together.
with the
you know?
same,
you know?
in the same household.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you know, my brother has done this and he's in prison. My brother's been locked up 22 years. But before that, you know, he was my brother, you know, Boy Scouts and, you know, swimming lessons. And, you know, it's sometimes you have to separate the crime from the criminal. And sometimes you have to equalize the pain from somebody that's different from you. And it's a tricky balancing act.
Wow.
And, you know, I think and I believe that God gives you a purpose. And that was mine. I mean, there's no other education you could ever get, you know, to be able to actually feel it and see it. You know, from the outside, people look at police officers or investigators, and they really don't understand. You know, I've been in Shreveport for a long time, and it's interesting that nobody actually knows me. You know, they think
know,
they do.
yeah, because
You know,
I'm
but
learning, you know, I'm like, yeah, Rod, what's up? I'm like, high
They think
five.
you're crazy, they think you're aloof, they think you
Yeah.
don't care, you know,
Yeah.
you got an attitude, but it's not that. It's just that you're focused on somewhere else. And
So I want you to talk about what's next for Rod Demery.
I think I'm with Judge Stewart, who's an incredible man. You know,
Yeah, he
and, I'm
is.
working with the DA's office, and he has plans that I don't think that have ever been seen before.
Mm.
And you know, when you talk about justice, you see real justice. I mean, I'm impressed by the way that he's really tough on people that commit crimes, and I'm also impressed by the way he is compassionate and wants the truth.
The balance.
Right.
The balance.
And I hate to plug him so much, but the first day I went to work for him, his main concern was somebody that was in prison for something they didn't do for a long
Wow.
time. And
Wow.
my mission was to go find out the truth. And I found out the truth.
And finding out the truth, and that's what you do
That's
on
all
the
he
show.
wanted to hear.
So
Right.
listen, so it's tying into your show, and I want people to watch your show, Murder Chose Me, on ID channel. Rod Demery in the hot seat, man. It's so good to see you.
You too.
Thank
Good
you,
seeing
thank
you.
you,
Good
thank
seeing
you.
you.
Listen, we'll see you next week for another hot show on the hot seat with me, Melva Williams. Thank you for being in here.
Oh,
This
no,
was
thank y'all. Thank y'all.
oh,